Hello and welcome to the Birth Untethered podcast. I'm Shelley, a long-time doula, advocate and former university lecturer.
And I'm Kemi, a badass birth keeper, formerly a UK registered midwife.
Just a couple of rebels with decades of combined experience in pregnancy, birth and beyond getting together to share wisdom. We exist to equip birth workers, families and seekers of truth with informed choice, not fear. Come as you are, learn what they don't teach. This is the birth revolution and you're all invited.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the first ever episode of the Birth Untethered podcast with me and the gorgeous Kemi.
It's been bursting out of us for a while, and we really do want to bring you something that is refreshing, honest, and encourages you to go for your birth freedom, however that looks. And we're very dedicated to people finding their birth freedom.
I think that's why we ummed and ahed over a lot of different names, didn't we, for what we were going to call the podcast, back and forth. And
yeah,
I'm sure
several days.
There was lots of juicy and moist in there that didn't quite make the cut, if I assume.
Yeah, sadly, she was quite insistent.
But we just wanted the idea that birth doesn't have to be tethered in any way, and that actually when you tether it in whatever direction that is, whether it's to like really strict ideals of exactly what a birth has to be in whatever direction, be that a medicalized direction or be that a stepping away from medical stuff, that actually that can cause feelings of things not being quite right, and that if you're truly untethered, it means that you can birth however you need to birth in the moment, in whatever way that feels right for you. And I think that's what we're both really passionate about.
Yeah, 100.
Yeah, I think we probably both get accused of being against medical intervention, being anti-induction, being anti-doctors or whatever it is, but that really is not the truth. You know, there is a place for medical intervention in pregnancy and birth and postpartum. But at the moment, what is happening, what the reality that everybody is facing is that there is far too much medical intervention, and that is not actually helping. And often that intervention is brought upon you in such a way that you feel very tethered, that you have to do what you're told. You have to be a good girl. The doctor says this, you have to believe them without question. And if you question, people don't like it. Well, we're here to help you question. We've been doing this a long time. We're here to give you information to help you make the decision that feels right for you, whatever that is.
And one of the things, you know, Shelley speaks for me, you know, wholeheartedly on this issue. And one of the things I need to remind partners, birth workers and everything else is all of your stupid ideas like, oh, let's go into hospital. Why? Because that's where my mum gave birth and my sister gave birth, and, you know, not prepared to expand your thinking beyond following the sheep into a place that they're deceived into thinking they're safe. Yeah, this is the tone that I bring. Okay, so you're going to have to just really, if you want to learn stuff, you're going to be able to handle the harsh stuff too. When people come out of all these stupid ideas, the only person that actually physically suffers and has the lion's share of the PTSD and the, you know, the whole health impairment that goes with following stupid ideas are the woman and the baby inside. Sadly, the babies don't have any choice. They're just done to by whatever happens because of stupid ideas, or the mother not being in a position or supported to do the right thing for her and her child, which sometimes looks totally medical and totally surgical. But usually that outcome will be a cascade of maybe poor health choices, in poor environmental choices, poor support choices, etc., may lead towards a surgical outcome. In which case, what can you do? It becomes obvious that that's the only way you can rescue the best birth. But yeah, because women are there and their babies are the only ones to bear the impact of iatrogenic harm, which is harm caused by the maternity system or the medical system. I absolutely insist that as you listen to what we're sharing and what we're looking at, that the woman absolutely puts herself and her baby first.
Yeah.
So to be able to do that, you need the information. But one of the things that I see lacking in many of us is courage.
Do you know what? I know that you're saying that the mother and baby suffer, but I think also partners really suffer. And I say that from the experience that my husband had from his first two births and following along with what the medic said, because, you know, we're all ingrained to do that, aren't we? From a young age, that we sit still, we be quiet and listen to the outside authority that knows better than we do. And it's left him very traumatized watching what happened to his partners and to his children, and the consequences, the lifelong health consequences and implications of that. And, you know, that actually also is often very minimized. Partners are just sort of shoved to the side. They don't matter. They're ignored. And that, you know, that has had lifelong implications for how.
And I completely agree with that. There are wider implications for all the cutting and snipping and shoving inside that happens to women. Never denying that. I think you're absolutely right to bring that in, Shelley.
Yeah. Everyone in the space is traumatized by that. Everyone.
Yes.
And I think what people think about when they think of birth trauma is the trauma that's happening to women and to babies, and how they're then interacting at subsequent births. But actually what we also need to remember is that the medical professionals there and the partners are being affected by that trauma, and that affects how they behave in the next birth, in the next 100.
Absolutely, 100%. My point will always be it's happening most to the woman and the baby.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in very visceral, violent ways. And I agree, trauma does affect everyone, and quite rightly, the person who loves her the most is going to be deeply affected by it.
Yeah.
But what I see happening often is the partner is given license to express a preference which isn't based on evidence or birth physiology or any kind of preparation.
Yeah.
But then that, yes, the partner will be traumatized, but it will be the woman and the baby with the actual physical wounds and the trauma.
Yeah.
So you know, the reason why I feel so aligned with this as a project for us to do is because I feel that at the moment most birthing is taking place without the bedrock of sound knowledge. And also from the practitioner's standpoint, they're not informed or trained or experienced in birth physiology and how to keep the wheels on it. So I'm excited about us doing this.
Yeah.
You're always going to hear real conversations. When we have guests on, you're going to hear their stories. We always come with stats and facts. We also come with our opinions based on our lived experience of being birth attendants. So yeah, it's the whole package. I hope you enjoy what you've got to come.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And I think maybe it would help for our listeners to know a little bit about what brought us here. Why are we here? Where did we start off? What got the birth bug in our bodies, in our souls? Why are we the biggest birth nerds going? Why do we want to talk to the birth nerds? Where's
Total.
that fire come from? Where's
the fire come from? Well, go on, Shelley. Where's your fire come from?
Where's my fire come from? Well, yeah, that's a good question. It's a deep question. I think my fire for really standing up for what is right comes from my childhood. It comes from being in an abusive household and wanting to stand up to the big white man that thinks that they know best over my body when they don't. So I have a very strong feeling of wanting to advocate for people for what feels right for them, whatever that is. And that comes from my childhood. And I'm very happy to stand up to people and say and question and ask. Doctors don't scare me. So I'm very happy to say, that's not really my understanding of the evidence. My understanding is this. What would you say to that? It fills a fire in my belly in that way. I've always been interested in anatomy and physiology. From a very young age, I thought I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a medic. And my family tell a story of when my sister was little. She was born with cystic fibrosis, so she was ill from her birth. That by her bedside, so I was probably about 2.5, 3. I was by her bedside, her little cot, and a nurse came in and said, I just need to listen to your sister's chest with my listening thing. And me, in my precocious way that hasn't changed, said, it's not a listening thing, it's a stethoscope.
Love it.
So that attitude's carried on, I'm afraid. It's not gone anywhere. It's stuck with me.
It didn't get better.
No, what you see is what you get. I then went to study osteopathic medicine, because when I did work experience in my teen years, I had it was like this coincidental thing, because I think at 16 or 15 or whenever it was, I did it 14 maybe, I probably wouldn't have put things together if I hadn't had the exact same scenario happen in 2 different places. So somebody came to their doctor with recurrent headaches, and then when I was shadowing a doctor, and someone came to an osteopath when they had headaches. And the doctor's attitude was basically, well, just take a paracetamol.
Take these, yeah.
Take these drugs, what are you complaining about? Cover it up, off you go. And what the osteopath did was say, okay, when did you last have your eyes checked? What's your work setup like? Are you using a computer? How's your chair? How's your desk set up? Do you feel any tension in any muscles? Have you had any injuries? How's your hydration? How's your nutrition? How are your stress levels? And really dug down to the reason behind why that person was getting those headaches. Not just, I'm going to cover it up, but what is the root cause of this? And that for me is true medicine. That's how I practice as a holistic therapist. And so that my passion for understanding anatomy and physiology and how it works best and what I can do to support it working best is where that passion came from. And then I think my passion for birth really came from having my own baby. So it was there, and I was supporting mothers and babies, and for a long time before I even actually knew what a doula was, because I'm just a caring person and a good medical advocate, so I was just doing it, and that naturally meant I was asked to support people with their births and things. But when I had my baby at home, I wanted to free birth my baby. I didn't want anybody present because of past trauma and assault. I had said, I don't want any vaginal examinations because I know strangers coming near that part of my body actually will cause me to become very stressed. And I knew it was important not to be stressed in labour, that it would cause issues, which I really didn't want. And when they said, well, we have to give you vaginal examinations, I was like, no, these people are not going to be in my birth space. They don't understand physiology. They don't understand anatomy. I literally said to the midwife, have you ever seen a cat skeleton up a tree? And she went, no. I went all Darren Brown on her. I was like, no, because cats get down. People think they don't get down, so they go to rescue them, but they do. They get down. And babies come out of vaginas. I'm like, you don't see people who are pregnant with babies that are a year, 2 years old, still inside their belly. They come out, whether any fingers go up there or not. And it's my vagina, and I get to decide who goes near it or not, and get who ask me if they can go near it or not. And I'm telling you now, nobody has permission to ask me. So that fire was absolutely fueled by the physiological birth that I had. That made me feel so incredibly powerful that I had done this thing, that I had reclaimed back my body from things that had happened to it in the past, that I birthed my baby without any intervention or help in any way, apart from my husband being there to catch him, which is what I wanted, to help them bond and connect and have him feel a part of it. And that has really ramped up my fire for physiological birth, thinking I really wish that every woman had this experience, to feel I did this incredibly hard thing. I am a birthing goddess. I am amazing. And I really would love that for everybody. And obviously I see in my work, both as a doula and working in the field of osteopathic medicine or craniosacral therapy, as I do now, because I'm no longer a registered osteopath, that it just, when I see birth, when it's disturbed, when it's fiddled with, when it's meddled with, the feeling at the end is so very different. It's so very different. And it breaks my heart that difference is happening now to over 60% of the pregnant population, more. That this, like, it's like a feeling of, oh, thank gosh, everybody's alive, rather than I am a goddess. That's how everyone should feel after birth. And so that's why I share lots of information. I learn all the time, because I want to help people to get that amazing feeling, because women are just amazing beings, and all the downtrodden stuff of history, all of the we can only be whores or virgins, all of the we're lesser, we're not lesser, we give birth to life. It's amazing, and I want people to find that amazingness in themselves and feel it in themselves. So that's where my fire comes from. I think yours comes in a slightly different way, doesn't it? So tell us about it.
It comes in a slightly different way. I took childbirth for granted. I thought, because absolutely everyone in my lineage had had a baby come out of their vagina, I took it for granted that my baby would come out of mine. And so I was, the sad thing is that when my mother gave birth, so my mother was born at home, but she gave birth to me in hospital by a method called twilight sleep. So she was drugged with something called scopolamine, which is the date rape drug. So she was completely unaware that she was giving birth. She wasn't present with it, but she was going through it, and she was tethered to a bed with ankles tethered and hands tethered. So I was born in the 60s when they were still doing this to women in the Western world. So, and I was born in the UK. So I was born by forceps. So they call it prophylactic newborn birth by forceps or something silly. They gave it a posh word, but it's basically drug the woman, tether her down, put your hand inside of her every 2 hours, and then when she's fully, haul the baby out from high in the vagina all the way out by forceps. So I didn't discover that I actually had forceps damage until like 5 years ago. I couldn't explain why things on the left side of my face are different from the right side. And I know we tend to be asymmetric anyway, but it's obvious to see. So I just, and then her breasts were bound so that she couldn't breastfeed me. So when I tried to ask her for some tips about childbirth, she couldn't give me any, because she didn't have a spontaneous physiological birth in an upright position.
The memory of it
at home. Yeah, that's right. She had, so she
thank goodness. I mean, after what was done, thank goodness.
Yeah, in a way, yes, because she was obviously abused, but her body knew. So she was a woman suffering from some kind of trauma until she took her last breath. So she couldn't give me any information. So when I stupidly just trusted a midwife to steer me right, when I was a springy, really healthy 39-week gestation mama, she said, "Oh, your blood pressure's a bit high. You're going to be induced." And I just said, "Oh, so I'm going to get to see my baby today." And she lied to me and she said, "Yes." So I went home, picked up my suitcase, ran in, 9 p.m. And that's when all the silliness started. Overnight nightmare, during the day nightmare, until they said, "Oh, your baby's in distress." Of course he would be. And then cut him out of me. So I realised that I thought, but don't know if that's right. And obviously, having from the beginning of time, from the first woman giving birth, me being the first where my baby needed cutting out of me, when I was springing around like a spring lamb the day before, I realised I probably have been duped into something that was unhelpful for me and my son, and it surely was. Both our health cascaded into the bin. And I did feel quite strongly that I wanted other women to avoid having that happen. So it did make me a little bit obsessed about childbirth. And so then just a smidge. Yeah. And then so I was already working as an accountant, doing really well there, but I couldn't stop obsessing about childbirth. So then I found a way to moonlight as a doula, because at that time I'd already got into this sleep pattern, which obviously is seriously doing me in. Now I have to correct it, of having 4 hours sleep a night. So if I went to work and then I had a community of sisters, we were looking after each other's children because I was a single parent. And so I quite easily would go 2-3 nights without sleep. Like I was made for childbirth, so I was doing. But then I got really annoyed with somebody else in the room making stupid suggestions, and then being considered an authority figure, so then being listened to. So yes. I said, May, and I'd already been like having burnt alive dreams, like being burnt at the stake. That's for another episode. I'd already been having that from age 4 to 9 every night.
Oh wow! Yeah, I think we both have the witchy history. We're so witchy,
and especially as well, like my great grandmother is Irish. My great grandmother was Irish, so I'm quite certain that there's this literal, lay midwifery lineage of being burnt. But anyway, I was having that, and then at age 15 realised I wanted to be a midwife. So in the end I stopped fighting it, and I did my midwifery training, and then nearly fell off my perch psychologically, because obviously it just re-traumatized me, and vicarious trauma was now on me from watching women being abused and things like that. So once I qualified, I couldn't stay in the NHS for very long, because obviously on the labour ward, absolute hell. And yeah, when I went to the birth centre, it was better, but the midwives aren't cared for in the NHS, and I was quickly depleting. So I went into independent midwifery, which was but of course I went in there. I had been apprenticed by independent midwives once I qualified. Yeah. So I was kind of ready to become an independent midwife. But still, there was a boot up my arse with my practices, because I'd learned crap from the NHS that I needed to unlearn. So, but eventually I was safe enough to be a primary independent midwife and keep women and babies alive. And during my training, I'd watched my mentors harm and kill babies. So I'm just being real. When I was being trained as a midwifery student in the NHS. So yeah, I really wanted to unlearn that. So yeah, I unlearned it.
To unlearn. Yeah.
And so, by default, once you unlearn that shit, you become a really good midwife. So yeah, everyone that I served, several hundred, they're all alive with very healthy babies. So I'm seeing some of them come up to, you've seen these 15 and 16-year-olds now, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I remember when you were like that. So yeah, it's just a calling that keeps on giving. Hopefully one day with an apprentice, because I am really enjoying sleeping every night now, and now I sleep like between 8 and 12 hours. But with an apprentice, I'm hoping maybe some of the 15, 16-year-olds, when they end up being 30 or whatever, I might be able to just sit at the birth you know, sleep under a blanket or something, just because it's my second career. So I started later. If I'd made it my first career, oh my word, I'd be watching the children of the children of the children that I've seen born. But yeah, that's what gives me that fire every day, especially because we all follow each other on social media, just seeing them growing up and seeing them all, because, you know, some of those children already follow me, and just know, and seeing them comment and stuff, and like, oh my gosh, you're going to make some really good birth choices. Like,
yay!
It's exciting. So yeah,
exciting.
And that's why I want to be part of this. I just want more and more people to understand how magnificent women are and the birth processes. And I think because at the moment we're living under extraordinary stress, we're malnourished, we are really malnourished, and not moving in the best ways, it's looking like we can't give birth anymore. But it's more to do with who we're choosing to give birth around and where. That's the biggest factor.
So what you can expect from us is unfiltered truths. I mean, there'd be no point in trying to put a filter on you and me, would there? And some collective wisdom from us, from the people that will come on as our guests to share their experiences, to share their wisdom. You can expect some really amazing resources if you join us over on our Patreon, where we're going to have all of the references from stuff that science that we discuss on the podcast, but also like little PDFs. They might be little, they might be big, depending on how juicy the subject is, with easy to use information for you, whether you're a parent or whether you are a birth worker, so that you've got the stats and the facts and the information in front of you to help holistically pregnancy, birth and parenting journeys, because you are a whole being. You've got to support your whole being to be well and happy and good.
Yeah. And for that to really start before you become pregnant, that's just a reality that most people don't share with you. And it does depend on how you nourish yourself, what kind of movement you undertake. All of those things come into birth preparation as well. And also to say that even though we'll be providing you with excellent resources to shore up your learning, say if you're looking for a specific subject or whatever, these resources are for you. I don't want you to get excited and think you can run into a maternity unit, show them what you've learned, and they'll be excited for you. Their agenda is not you and your baby having the healthiest birth and the healthiest lives. They want to keep their conveyor belt running. They're not interested. I'm just being real. So take this as a journey for you, hopefully to furnish your decisions with regard to where you give birth and who you give birth with, how you prepare, etc.
And if you would like to join us on Patreon, you can go over to Patreon/Untethered Birth, which is us, or you can pop over to my website and look for Untethered Birth, and you'll be able to find the links to join.
Is it Birth Untethered or Untethered Birth?
Birth Untethered. Patreon? You're right. Yeah, Birth Untethered. Yeah.
Okay,
good. At the moment of putting it the wrong way around. That's good, isn't it? I'm sure if you looked in the search, it will probably come up, hopefully.
Yeah.
So that's how you find us. And in that regard, if you want like the extra bits, and also with there are different like levels that you can sign up on Patreon, and you can have a look at what those different levels are, and the different levels get you different bonuses and exciting things, including a chance to have a monthly get together with one or both of us, where you can ask any questions, you can feedback, you can put forward things that you'd like us to discuss on the podcast, all kinds of stuff like that. So
it's a virtual get together, but we're not going to rule out us physically getting together.
Oh yeah, that would be good, wouldn't it? I'll make a cake.
Yeah.
You might have a vulva on it.
Of course, it's obligatory. We insist.
Oh dear. Okay, so I think we've probably told everybody enough about us and enough about what to expect, unless there's anything else you can think of.
No.
We're going to be starting out with a big subject for our first official episode after this introduction, and we are diving deep into physiology and how physiological birth works and what the long-term effects of not disturbing that / disturbing that are, so that you really understand why it's important, why we think it's important, why it may feel important for you. So that's what we're diving into in the first episode. And before we head off, we thought we'd give some little juicy tidbit. So Kemi, if you were having one thing that you want pregnant people and women to know, can you tell us what that one thing would be?
Giving birth is many thousands of years old and was happening beautifully before obstetrics existed. I'd like you to lean into that when you're making your choices about where to give birth and with whom.
I love that. And I think we should definitely do an episode on the propaganda that took birth from home into hospital and how it's one of the most successful propaganda campaigns.
Really successful. Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, let's have that episode. We
based
should.
on a lie. That obstetric-led care is safer than midwifery-led care at home, which it never has been.
It never has been, and clearly is definitely demonstrated to not be so.
So my little tidbit is that actually you do not need anybody else to give birth. You don't need anybody else. In fact, you don't even need to be conscious yourself. If you were unconscious, your body would birth your baby. So what you need actually is to remove people in the way of what your body is designed to do. So if people are getting in the way, are derailing what your body's meant to do, that's a problem. If you feel that you need someone to help you to do what your body needs to do, to help you keep calm, to give you sips of water, to just love on you because you are the most amazing being, or you think that there's something going on that doesn't feel right and you need to seek medical help, brilliant. But at the core of it, you are the person that is doing everything. And it's amazing. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Nice one. Love
Okay.
that.
How about for partners? Do you have one tip for partners that you would like to give?
It's in your interest to be partnering with someone that you will trust to complete what's been started. So I know we make decisions about partners and children, and it's very emotional decisions, and we're not necessarily thinking about longevity, etc. But if you're with someone and you're choosing to produce the next generation, and you've got things that you don't trust or you're not on the same page, please think before you conceive. Because once that person's coming, you need to swing fully behind the person giving birth, fully behind. When she's pregnant is not the time for you to speak about your misgivings about home birth or physiological birth. That conversation needed to be had before conception, because obviously there's work for you to do with regard to your relationship with medical care and medicalised maternity care, because the proof is out there constantly how many people get harmed by medical care or medicalised maternity care. So you cannot cling to an erroneous belief and put the birthing person, the birthing partner and the baby at risk just because of your fears. So partners, before you create a baby, whatever kind of partner, male or female, before a baby is created, before you seek to grow a family, please make sure that where you're coming from is an informed place, not a fear-driven place, so that you can fully support the person who's carrying the baby.
I think that's on very similar lines to what I would say, really, in that to give birth, people need to feel safe. It's really important for how they feel about their birth and also for the safety of that birth. Because when you are getting towards the end of your pregnancy, your oxytocin is increasing. You are becoming far more aware of cues of what people are doing. And in a birth space, just a single look or a single word like said in slightly nervous tone, will be the senses of the person giving birth are so heightened that they will pick up on that and they will notice that, and it will affect their birth. So in order to be a safe space for someone to birth, you really need to address your own fears, address your own understanding, so that you are coming in to support that person as best you can. And sometimes, if your fear is great, the best support you can do is find someone to be with the person having the baby, and you take a step back. Yeah. Sometimes if you feel that you can't address those fears, it's actually better for you not to be in the space, because it can make the space unsafe. And, you know, we want everybody to be safe and well. So if you can address those fears, get yourself some support. It's one thing actually I think about with my birth, because I was so understanding that my body would just do what it would need to do. And if I needed help, I would ask for it. And I tried to get my husband to engage in understanding and education about physiological birth, but it was incredibly difficult for him because he had been so traumatized by what happened before that
makes sense.
I did everything I could to try to help him to be calm and be okay. And I knew he would be on the surface, but that underneath he would be like a duck or a swan with the legs going underneath. So I got him a reflexology treatment as I was in early labour to help chill him out. I made him a lunch, gave him a glass of wine, all these things to like calm him, because I was just like, I'm having a baby, it'll be fine, I'm all good. But he wasn't. And he says now that if he knew then what he knows now, from the more that he's been able to learn since the healing birth of our baby, that healed his soul in ways that I can't even describe, he wouldn't have called anybody else to come in to help him. Okay.
Yes.
But maybe I should have realized that actually he needed more support. And even though I felt like I didn't need someone else there and I wanted to be on my own because of my own trauma, that felt safer for me, it probably would have been better for me to have somebody like a doula who was there for my husband to support my husband. And I think probably in all the years that I work, I realize more and more that women are very capable. And yes, I might hand them a drink or give them a cool flannel or think of something like that to help them feel more wonderful and cared for. Actually, the person in the room that often needs more support is the partner. So don't be afraid to invite somebody into your space to love and support all of you, if you feel you need that to feel safest and best. That would be my tip.
Excellent. Yeah.
My doula services are available. Get in touch online.
Excellent. Really good.
Okay. And last but not least, one thing that you would like, should we say birth professionals to know? Maybe you'd like medical professionals, maybe you'd like non-medical professionals who work
birth workers
to know.
Birth workers, because this word professional, I've got odds with it now, because you know, we're told what's professional, but actually lying to your service users and serving them up to theatre, is that acting professionally? I don't think so. It's probably bringing the profession into disrepute. So let's say workers. Honestly, there's room for being apprentice, there's room for being new, there's room for learning new skills, etc. There's room for mistakes in life. But if you find you're a birth worker, but you're just doing it for money or for status or to nourish an ego or to heal your own wounds, etc., if you find that you're still doing this and you haven't centered the woman and that baby, and you don't think you're ever going to get there, please go and do something that has less impact on the future. I know if the butterflies, it beats its wings in the Amazon, it has, so everything that we do does have an effect on other people's lives. But I think if you haven't yet learned to center the woman and her child in truth, in birth physiology, in comfort, support, confidence, knowledge, and skill, if you're still there, please just do us all a favour and just go and do something else. There's loads of things you can do for money.
She's starting out strong with the unfiltered truths.
Please, because at the moment, if you've got 80% cesarean rate for first-time birthers, and you call yourself a midwife or you're a doula supporting this kind of stuff, please do something else.
I hear you. And I think probably along similar lines. We're going to get ourselves in trouble, aren't we?
Oh my word!
I think one of the single most dangerous things, in fact, it probably is the single most dangerous thing in a birth space, is arrogance. It's believing that you know better than the person who is birthing a baby out of their body. You know, we know from every safety report that when women are ignored, when they say there is something wrong, whether that be with, no, I don't want an induction, or be that there's something wrong, I need you to check it. You know, we know that women and babies lose their lives. And that arrogance is causing all kinds of problems, all kinds of very serious problems that are not just affecting this generation, but are having intergenerational effects with epigenetic changes, you know, with trauma. You know, trauma goes down through generations. It doesn't just stop with you. It affects your children, it affects your grandchildren. You know, we have research showing
great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, it goes on and on.
The arrogance is so very dangerous. And it's a real bugbear of mine. You know, I get called out by obstetricians, by midwives, by people who think that they know better than me because I don't have a degree in terms of midwifery or traditional medicine. I do actually have a degree in osteopathic and naturopathic medicine, which means that I have a very, very good understanding of anatomy and physiology. So I do actually specialize in physiology. And I have spent the last 20 years specializing in birth physiology and how to support that. So I have expertise in that area. You have expertise in a different area. Let's all respect in a birth space each other's expertise and understand that the biggest expert in the room is the person who is birthing a baby, the woman who can feel what is happening in her body and can let us know how we can help her. We're there to serve. We're not there to dictate. And if you are dictating to people in any way how they should be birthing, you need to get out of the birth space. There you go. Boom.
Yeah, so we're just here to bring it, and hopefully you'll enjoy. Some of the truths, you know, may be uncomfortable, but no one said that life is supposed to be just comfort, moving from one comfortable space to the other. We're hoping to provoke thought for others, as we are also reflecting on our own practice and actions and thoughts. You know, we're all work in progress, but the key word is progress.
I would encourage you, actually, if something does trigger thoughts in you and you want to have a discussion, come over and join us on Patreon, because we've got an area where people can have discussions and have chats, and let's talk about it, because it's the not talking about things that causes problems. The dictating and the not listening is what causes problems. So let's all learn from each other. That collective wisdom is so important, I think. And we hope that you will join us on our next episode and learn a bit about physiological birth.
Yeah, learn a lot about physiological birth.
Yeah, not just a bit. Not just a bit, a lot. Yes, I love it. So thank you very much for joining us, everybody, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Remember, you can join us over on Patreon for extra resources with every episode and a growing community of physiological birth rebels. This is The Revolution, and you're all invited. The information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be construed as medical advice. The views and opinions expressed by guests are their own and may not reflect those of the hosts. This content does not replace professional advice.